Last year, it looked like Lexus was going to beat out BMW for selling the most luxury automobiles here in the United States. But due to the Grand Highlander, well, should I say the Lexus TX being on recall, BMW came and stormed back and took the sales crown for the luxury segment in 2024. In 2025, it's been back and forth quite a bit. BMW last year outsold Lexus, even though Lexus posted a best ever year for sales all time. And Lexus was the king of sales for the most part from the 2000s to the mid 2010s. And then it's been BMW, Mercedes essentially gunning it out since then. In recent years, it's been BMW smacking around the competition. They've been probably last 5 years, and it's really hard to find cumulative sales data year over year, but I follow this like a religion. I would say BMW has been taking it, especially to Mercedes-Benz and Lexus these past 5 years. However, what's going to happen as we get into Q4? It's a lot of excitement for me. I love seeing, I'm a big fan of sports, and this is the closest thing that's not motorsports, but it's the closest thing in automobiles that kind of I like root for certain models to kick butt and I root for certain brands. I like Lexus. I like BMW. And there are certain models on each brand I would take over, of course, the competitor on the other side. And I'm just a big fan of cars. So this is a lot of fun for me. I wish there was more competition in the mainstream. Toyota it's an easy win for them. Volkswagen so far down the list, and the Chinese haven't risen high enough to start knocking on the doors of total Toyota mainstream volume yet. But guys, if you guys are excited for today's coverage as we look at Q3 numbers, make sure to smash the like button. I cover sales data every month. Every end of the month, I cover sales data, but quarterly is a big deal. And the next time I'll update you guys will be after the new year on probably BMW. Lexus, I feature a little bit more on the channel. But with that being said, if you enjoy that coverage, make sure to subscribe. And let's get into what the heck is going on in the luxury segment. BMW has stormed back. Lexus was taking it to them for the first 2 quarters, and they're both BMW and Lexus are on track to set all-time sales records for the respective brands. Now, what's interesting is BMW, about half of their models are 2026 models, where Lexus, less than 5% are being sold as 2026 models. I don't know if that means anything, but it's just fascinating how much more aggressive BMW is with their model year refreshes. So BMW, despite the EV tax credit going away at the end of September, you would think you would see a surge in EV deliveries. No, there's actually a 16% slide in their EVs. They have far more EVs than Lexus. Lexus just has 1. But there's between Toyota and Lexus, there's big demand for plug-in hybrids and standard hybrids. BMW mainly having mild hybrids or plug-in hybrids. I don't think they have a non-plug-in hybrid that's not a mild hybrid. You know what I mean? Like a traditional strong hybrid. I don't think BMW plays around with those very much. And even though BMW's EV sales were down 16% in Q3, it would have been much worse if it wasn't for their September, right? The EV tax credit ending, and BMW's EV sales skyrocketed 30% in September. That wasn't the case for Lexus, and I'll explain why in a little bit. Now, BMW's supply of EVs is at 28 days, actually really low. At the end of Q2, it was at 65 days. So they had an oversupply of EVs after they had a massive selling spree and the tax credit, essentially. They're now under 30. That's really impressive. Mercedes-Benz, the other top 3 automaker in the luxury segment stateside, they fell 13% to 73,500 units in the quarter. And luxury sales overall, including all luxury brands, has actually grown 4.5% in the third quarter. Like I said, Mercedes-Benz wasn't helping out the luxury segment being down double digits. So what I have on the screen for us is both sales charts from Toyota and BMW, and we're just going to focus on Lexus versus BMW here because BMW also has Mini thrown in. Keep in mind, BMW is quarterly, and right here we have monthly sales. So Don't be like, wow, BMW outsold Lexus by 70,000 units. No, that's not what happened. They did outsell Lexus for the quarter, but we're just looking at month for Toyota and / Lexus and quarter here. We're less than 5,000 units apart from these two brands. And despite Lexus being up a lot on September, it wasn't enough because BMW is guns blazing right now. And they leapfrogged, or is it leapfrogged? I don't know. They jumped over Lexus and is now in the driver's seat to finish out this year #1. Again, both of these brands on pace to set all-time sales records for their brands. So Lexus is up 9% on the year on a volume basis. And if we look at BMW, it's almost the same, 8.5% on a volume basis. So respectively, Lexus is doing a little bit better than BMW, but let's get into the individual models. This is where it gets pretty darn exciting. And BMW has a lot more models than Lexus. Lexus has just killed the LS. What else? They've killed the RC. Excuse me. They've also, they're going to kill the LC soon. So Lexus's lineup is continuing to shrink, where BMW being BMW, just like Mercedes from Germany, like they have so many different variations of their cars. It's hard for me to keep them straight. And I do this for a living. I don't cover BMW for a living. Try to cover most of the brands. Lexus, obviously, as I started selling Lexus 8 years ago or so, that is of course, I know the brand a little bit better. All right. So with that being said, all right, we're going to look at total yearly sales volume. All right. The IS is going to be going directly against the 3 Series. And the IS is being spanked by the 3 Series here. Got to keep in mind the 4 Series is a derivative of that as well, which kind of the RC was a derivative of the IS, and those sales aren't even close. And then you have the 2 Series, right? Lexus doesn't have a sedan smaller than that. So as I'm looking at this, BMW absolutely owns Lexus when it comes to sedans. Now, if it wasn't for the ES, which doesn't have a direct competitor, I guess you could say it would be the 5 Series to an extent, but the 5 Series is so much more performance focused, rear wheel drive, right? That it just doesn't, it's not direct comparison. All right. So if it wasn't for the ES, Lexus would be absolutely crushed by BMW. And you could say they still are. Their sedans and coupes are unrivaled in the automotive luxury industry right now. The 2 Series, I drove next to an M2 yesterday. The 2 Series, 3 Series, 4 and 5, I cannot believe how close their numbers are. They're all very, very respectable numbers there and huge numbers. And they don't differ that much from each other, where you see, look at the numbers for Lexus here. All right, you have the ES that is so far out and above everything else. And then halfway between 0 and the ES is 30,000. You have the IS, and then the RC, LS, and LC are insignificant. That is nuts. Now, look at the 8 Series. The 8 Series competes directly with the LC, and it outsells it at about 3-1. The 7 Series competes directly with the LS, and it's outselling it about 10-1. LS has officially been canceled at this point. So Lexus just is not competitive when it comes to sedans. All right, the IS is great. You guys love it when I make IS videos, but the IS has a naturally aspirated V6 that's as old as dirt. It'll last forever, okay? But people who have money to buy a Lexus or BMW, oftentimes, they don't need reliability to be first and foremost, okay? If they're just leasing, they want something to be fun and performance focused a lot of the time, and BMW offers that, and Lexus doesn't really. Now, IS 500's gone, and that was such low volume anyways. What Lexus needs to spruce up their sedan lineup is a new IS, even though they just refreshed it, so we know we're not getting anything good coming soon. It's hard to say, and you got to keep in mind their EVs are packed into these segments too, so that kind of confuses things on their sedan and coupe end. But let's get out of sedans. BMW absolutely owns the segment here with sedans and coupes, and Lexus can only hope, wish, and pray that they had anything on the same level as BMW. It doesn't mean the IS isn't a better looking car than the BMWs. I think it is, even with the new refresh. It looks better than most BMW sedans. Same thing with the LC. The LC is a way better looking and more fun to drive car than the 8 Series, but that doesn't stop it from getting absolutely destroyed in sales. All right, let's keep moving. It's really not worth mentioning the Z4. It's going to be discontinued soon, I believe, just like the Supra. All right, guys, correct me if I'm wrong on that. You guys will tell me. X1 and X2. So it's interesting that BMW includes these as passenger cars, the X1 and X2. Maybe they see them more as hatchbacks. I reviewed the X1 not that long ago. I guess it was a while ago, over 2 years ago now, something like that. The performance was great. The space was great. I didn't like the software in it. I remember that, but I haven't driven a BMW in a while. And last night or this morning, I emailed my BMW contact. Hopefully I get more BMWs on the channel, because it's a darn shame that I am not driving the most popular luxury brand cars as often as I like to on the channel. Okay. So what does the X1 compare directly to? Well, that would be, as we go down, that would be the UX, and there's no comparison. The UX comes as only a hybrid now, but look at the UX's sales. All right, this is a complete joke. 426, okay, for the month. Okay, so multiply that by 3 for the quarter. So they're roughly at, let's say, 1,300 units. Look at where the X1 sold over 7,000 units. So the X1 is outselling the UX 6 to 1, essentially, at this point. That is crazy. Not necessarily on the total tally this year, but the X1 is accelerating. The X1 is up 20% on the year, and the UX is negligibly up. That's a hard word for me to say. It's also no comparison here. This is the weakest Lexus crossover, and it shows. The X1 absolutely spanks it in usability, performance, desirability. The only thing the UX has over the X1 is fuel economy, because it is a hybrid. But I'd rather have a Prius than a UX. I think it looks a lot better. And yes, it's more efficient. Yeah, don't buy the UX. Buy an X1, or if you need a hybrid, buy some other Toyota. Okay, or an NX. Just spend your money on an NX. NX is infinitely better than an UX, except for maybe really tight parking spaces. So let's get into the NX right now. The NX is one of the best sellers for Lexus. It has sold 57,000 units, which if we look at the ES, it's almost double the ES's numbers. And the ES has been around since 1989. The NX has been around since like 2014. Okay, so crossovers are the name of the game, and this is where Lexus is extraordinarily successful now that we got the X1 and the UX out of the way. The NX has sold 57,000 units. It is beating out the X3 here. That's its closest rival. But you could say, hey, the X4, the coupe crossover thing also fits into that. Okay, so it's at 55,000 units. The NX is still narrowly beating it out. Here's a crazy thing. Well, look at the sales numbers on the X4. They're down 38%. I don't know why. Well, it's discontinued in Germany. Yeah, and it is, I guess, discontinued as well, just like the Z4 is and the 8 Series. Okay, so that explains it. All right, the X4 can't, it's dead because of lack of probably success, and the X3 and the X1 just do so many things well. And you kind of have the X2 in there as well. I don't even know if I've ever seen an X2 on the road. I'm gonna look at it real quick. Honestly, I can't say I've seen an X2 on the road. I think it's hideous. Do you guys agree? The X1 is a much better looking car, like way better looking car. All right, that didn't stop the X2 from being up 126%. Whatever. All right. It's ugly and it doesn't deserve to exist. But hey, if you own one, it makes you happy. That's all that matters. I guess as we look at the X3 here going forward, it'll probably have somewhere between 50 and 55,000 units after third quarter. And it's close to the NX, but it's not quite there. The NX is still growing, where the X3, it may have plateaued. And the new X3, as we get back to it, let's get back to the BMW styling because it's highly controversial. I'm not. I don't know if I'm sold on the images or the exterior of it. It looks a little too soft to me. Let me know if you guys agree with. I don't know if I like these swooping lines. All right, the grill's not terrible. That's something that BMW's really struggled with lately. I like, oh man, this is kind of a smiley face. Oh, the more I look at it, the more like this looks way better. This 2020 X3 looks way better than the new one. Look how ugly that is. I don't like how it has like the two pectorals up front and then like, I don't know, or it looks like two people's, like this is one head and one torso, another head and one torso. They're almost like two people standing side by side. Doesn't look good. Let me know if you guys agree. Am I being too critical in BMW? Probably not. I don't think so. Most people don't like their designs very much. It's not stopping them from selling like hotcakes. All right. Heavyweight showdown, meaning bestseller to bestseller. Well, the X3 is almost outselling the X5 now. And it did. The X3 did outsell the X5 for the quarter. The NX still isn't that close to the RX in terms of sales, where the X3 and X5 are pretty much neck and neck. All right, so the RX is a best-selling two-row crossover in the US, and it is outselling about 28,000 units compared to the X5. The RX has a lot of different powertrain options. The X5 has inline sixes. It has plug-in hybrids, and it's just a way more fun to drive vehicle than the RX. But the RX, it gives you just like a smorgasbord of powertrains. You have a 350 turbo, 4-cylinder. You have hybrid, which again, 40 miles per gallon is pretty nice to have with smooth operation. And that's the thing. It's so fascinating. These two brands fight directly against each other. Their sales are very similar, and they have a completely different like identity. Lexus is more conservative, focused more on efficiency, fuel economy, while having a very nice ride and good customer experience. Their interiors used to be elite. I would say their interiors are probably still better than BMW's, as the Germans have gone really plastic lately. They focus more on reliability, where BMW has become a lot more reliable recently, ironically, but focus more on performance. Cannot believe it, but I would say more times than not, a Lexus counterpart to BMW looks better. I would take an X5 looks over the RX. Let's look at an X5 real quick. Much rather have an X5. I think the X5 looks fine. And if we look at the Lexus RX, it is a very ugly vehicle. That's just my opinion. I'm not a fan of the swoop. I don't like this spindle body grille. And I don't like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer badge right there in the front. It looks tacky to me, where the NX looks a lot better. All right. So, I mean, the NX still has the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer badge up front, but it still looks better than the RX. Anyways, X5 is an amazing vehicle, deserves all success, but the RX is still absolutely crushing it in terms of sales volume. All right, so RX probably sold about 25,000 units in the quarter to the X5's 18,000. But here's the thing. Look at this. Look at the X5 up in the quarter, 47%. Wow, what in the world? And you can say the X6 is a derivative of the X5, and that was up 61%. So the X6, that's not going anywhere. It's been around for a long time now. The BMW X5 is up 12% on the year. If we look at the RX, it's down 3.5%. And even though the Lexus RX is seeing a decline in sales, it is still so far beyond the X5 and X6 combination of sales that it is still untouched. All right, but where is this sort of sales volume going for the RX? I think the RX will probably continue to diminish, and the NX will continue to rise in sales. All right, no one needs a two-row this big anymore, because the RX has become so big over time, and the NX has gotten bigger with the second generation, just a little bit. And the NX is what the RX used to be in size with the first 3 generations or so of the RX. RX will continue to fall out of favor until they can put real performance in it, until they can make it not look so ugly, and until they fix a lot of things with the RX, make the interior a little bit nicer. The RX could have a plug-in hybrid V6 coming, and that could move the needle. That might keep some people leaving to BMW for their plug-in hybrids, because the RX plug-in hybrid 450h Plus, you can get it on a Toyota RAV4. In fact, the new RAV4 coming out that I'll be driving next week, it's going to have an updated version of it, while the NX and RX are going to continue soldiering on with outdated plug-in hybrids on last generation, based off the last generation RAV4 Prime / plug-in. All right. So RX, they need to bring that V6 hybrid or plug-in hybrid to the market, and it needs to replace the 450h Plus, in my opinion, at least the top end of it. So we'll see. Anyways, what Lexus really needs is rear-wheel drive, and I think that they're not ever going to do it unless it's a BEV or a next-generation coupe lineup. And we can talk more about that here in a little bit. But let's keep moving. The X7 is a completely different monster than the TX. The TX is based on a front-wheel drive K platform, which it's an RX. Think of it as an extended RX. Actually, it's just a rebadged Toyota Grand Highlander. They're built both in Indiana. And the TX was on stop sale a large part of last year. And we're just seeing the sort of damage it's doing in the three-row crossover industry. Now, the BMW X7 has way more power. It's rear-wheel drive biased. Okay. But it's selling about at half the clip of what the TX is selling. It just tells you how much demand there has been for years for a three-row crossover in Lexus's lineup. The MDX, which has traditionally been the king of this segment, is now getting its butt handed to it by the TX. And it's still, I think the MDX is still outselling the X7, but the X7 is a far more desirable vehicle at this point. If Acura, you're calling yourself a precision crafted performance brand, and the Type S should be the standard model, and they should have something above the Type S, like a Type S R. I don't know. You guys know what I mean. All right, call the Type S what it is, but we want more power from Acura as a precision crafted performance brand. The Type S is great, but a lot of people could just get an X7 and it would probably quite easily beat. I'm curious now. I got to look it up. Now, the X7 is noticeably more expensive than the MDX. So it's not apples to oranges. I mean, the X7 starts over $100K. The Lexus TX and the MDX start around $50K. All right. So this car costs oftentimes twice as much. All right. So it's going to have higher profit margins potentially than a TX. But the TX, again, is just a rebadged Toyota. All right. So here's the thing. Like the X7 is just, it's in a class of its own right now. You could say the GV80 from Genesis, but it doesn't have as much space as this. All right. There's also the GLE from Mercedes, which competes a little bit more like this. You can get a twin turbo V8 in it. And Audi still doesn't have a direct competitor to this. Because Audi has just stayed with the Q7. They need a Q9 to have more space. Once Genesis comes out with the GV90, and who knows if they'll put an internal combustion engine in it or not, but that is going to be the direct rival here to this vehicle. All right. I didn't realize, because I haven't tested one, I haven't reviewed one. Would love to, absolutely love to drive an X7, but I didn't realize how expensive they are in starting MSRP. That is quite, I want to see the cheapest one. It still might be over 100K. Oh, 87K. All right. That is, oh, I like those wheels. Those look awesome. So there's probably really good deals to be had under 100K on that. But if we look at the Lexus TX, I mean, that tops out in the low 80s with the plug-in hybrid, which is impossible to find. At least for now, until the battery plant starts pumping out some more batteries in North Carolina for Toyota and Lexus. All right, so I'm really impressed with the X7 sales here, up 10%. But again, when we go back to Lexus, the TX is just wrecking this segment. You don't need an ass ton of power in a three-row family hauler. You're going to make the whole family sick. All right, and the TX has a good blend of economy with the 500h and performance, but most of the TX is being sold are the 350s, which I wouldn't be spending that money on that engine in that sort of class of vehicle. That's just my 2 cents. I would want the hybrid variant of it. XM, well, Lexus doesn't have anything to compete, nor does it have anything to compete with the iX. The iX, like I said, doesn't compete with the RZ for Lexus. I try to find the RZ. Lexus doesn't care about this car. It's already been on stop sale because of recall. Yes, they're getting refreshed motors and software in this, but wow, surprisingly, I thought the iX would be way out ahead of the RZ. It's selling at about 2-to-1 right now. But look, if it didn't have a minus 83% clip in the fourth quarter, the RZ, we'd be talking about a much closer race. But the iX is still down 12% on the year and 33% on the quarter. But if we look at BMW's SUVs overall, they're 147,000 units. If we look at Lexus, 223,000 units. An absolute, there's just no comparison there in terms of raw volume. If we go to BMW passenger cars, I know it's not apples to oranges because the X1 is included in the sedans where the UX is included into the light trucks, just how they categorize them. All right, Lexus has only sold 47,000 sedans this year, and BMW has sold about almost 3 times more, not quite, like 2.5 times more sedans and coupes, if you want to conclude coupes. That is mind-blowing. One really, really succeeds with crossovers, and that's Lexus. And BMW is unparalleled with their sedan dominance. It is so fascinating. That's why these brands are both doing so well, is that they complement each other in terms of variety. If you want a more fun to drive sedan or coupe, go to BMW. If you want a more, in theory, reliable, it's not always the case, but if you want a more trustworthy crossover that is just easy to live with and has great fuel economy while still being a real nice luxury vehicle, Lexus seems to be winning there. What can Lexus do to beat BMW this year? I don't think they can. I think BMW just offers more of what the current market wants, and that is performance and variety. Lexus offers safe plays, quality products, but a little bit too vanilla. It's just like they're the best at doing vanilla, and BMW is the best at offering like a Ben and Jerry's spread of fun. And you know, there's nothing wrong with nailing vanilla and doing it well. All right. Lexus could pull a rabbit out of their hat. Now that the EV tax credit's gone, that could be Lexus's opportunity here because they don't depend on EVs whatsoever. BMW does. And now that the EV tax credit is gone, where is the race going to end up as we finish quarter 4 and the next couple months? It'll be fun to see this unfold here. You know, for Lexus, they will start competing a little bit better with BMW in niche segments. That would be the new LFR, which could actually be rebadged as a Toyota. So it's hard to say. And then Lexus has EVs coming. And so just because the EV market sucks right now, nobody wants them. Everyone's going to be like fighting over scraps in the EV market because there's still so much more product coming out from these brands when it comes to EVs. And Lexus will be more, I guess, if people want an EV and they don't like the RZ, they'll have some other options. BMW has a smorgasbord of EV options right now, especially on the sedan side. And that keeps people in the brand instead of going to Tesla oftentimes or someone else. But no one's really going to Tesla anymore unless you're already a Tesla homer at this point. So thank you guys for watching. This is fun. I love both of these brands. I just love all cars. I think BMW is going to take the crown again this year. I don't think Lexus has the production capacity. I don't think Lexus has the performance in terms of, you know, drawing people in with fun to drive cars. Lexus needs to fix those things, as well as offering a little bit more EVs and giving like, and the problem is also like the ES. The new ES is going to be such a dud. I hate to say it. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope the ES does great, but it's not the same ES anymore. The new ES is kind of like, like the 5 Series Grand Coupe. I don't even know if they make those anymore. Tells you how much I know about BMW. Maybe Gran Turismo. Look at this weird thing. It's probably a liftback too, which the new ES isn't. And that is a win for BMW. So the new ES just doesn't give the market what they want. Okay. There's no performance hybrids. That's something Lexus has this opportunity and advantage of. They're not winning there. They're winning on reliable fuel economy hybrids. And for how long they can do that, I don't know. People love their hybrids, but we need more performance hybrids, and we need better engines from Lexus. The 2.4 turbo is one of my least favorite turbocharged engines on the market right now. Would I take it over Nissan's VC Turbo? Of course. But like, I'm driving a GV70 this week, twin turbo V6, and that thing's just a bullet train. It's got so much power and torque, and Lexus doesn't have anything like that to compete against BMW. I got to shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more car updates here on the channel. Let me know which of these two brands you prefer, and which of these brands you think is going to win the sales crown for the luxury division here in the US in 2025. Have a great day and peace.